Hi everybody, my name is Camryn Chehreh. I'm the host of AACPS Teen Talk. I'm in the studio right now filming the very first episode. I'm so excited to share it with you all. I'll see you guys soon on Teen Talk. Hey AACPS, my name is Camryn Chehreh and welcome to Teen Talk. This is a space for students, by students, and I cannot wait to share it with you all this school year. Whether you're tuning in from North County High School or Southern Middle School or even my home school of Crofton High, I am so glad you're here with us today. We have someone very special in the studio right now. My first guest is someone you may be familiar with here in Anne Arundel County. Dr. Mark Bedell began his term as our superintendent on August 8th and will spend the next 4 years making decisions that impact students and teachers alike. He previously served as the Assistant Superintendent of Baltimore County Public Schools and the Superintendent of Kansas City Public Schools. To say he's experienced might be a bit of an understatement. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Bedell to you today. Dr. Bedell, how are you today?
Camryn, I'm doing wonderful, and thank you for having me today.
Of course, thank you for joining us. So how's your school year been so far?
Fast-paced. I have enjoyed over the first 4.5 weeks of getting out and visiting schools and speaking to students and teachers and various stakeholders within the organization, and it's been a wonderful experience so far.
Can you explain your job a little bit?
Yeah, it's a pretty complex job because as superintendent, I have the responsibility of leading a district of nearly 85,000 students, a workforce that may be approaching 12,500 employees, and making sure that we are making the right decisions from a policy standpoint, from a curricular standpoint, and from an experience standpoint that would ensure that our kids, the students, you are able to thrive on 3 fronts: socially, emotionally, and academically. And I have that responsibility.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It is a lot, and fortunately for me, as you said in the introduction, I have 6 years of superintendent experience, 6 years of successful superintendent experience. So really for me right now, I just have to focus on my learning curve around becoming reacclimated with Anne Arundel County, not necessarily on how to be a superintendent.
Right. And you were in Anne Arundel County previously, right?
I was. I lived in Severn for 4 years when I moved here to work in Baltimore County as an assistant superintendent before I went to Kansas City.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome. So I have kind of a follow-up. How do you plan to ensure students are represented and heard in the decisions you make in this position? I know we kind of talked about that before we started filming.
We did. And Camryn, before I answer this question, I just have to say you have an awesome name, and the way that it's spelled is just phenomenal. And that's personal because my daughter, who is a 6th grader in this county, that's her name, and it's spelled the same way, and I picked out that spelling. So what I want to say to you to answer that question is, just like my 6th grader that I have in this county, I get to hear a lot from her around her experiences. And everything that I try to do as a superintendent is to make sure that student voice is represented. I want to make sure that we are a very inclusive school district, and all means all, right? No matter how you show up, we should have a space for you in this school district. So part of that is engaging students where I'm doing listening and learning tours within the community, going to schools and sitting down and having lunch. I think the first 2 weeks of school, I had an opportunity to have lunch with a number of elementary, middle, and high school students over the first 2 weeks of school. And it's something that I continue to do, but then also listening to our students that serve on the various organizations to represent the student body as a whole, along with the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, and just allowing for students to say to us, here's what we think would allow for us to thrive in the 21st century. I think we have to begin to listen to students because information for you all, you receive it a lot different, much more differently than I did when I went through high school in the 90s.
That's true. That wasn't that long ago, but that is true. And as someone who's on CRASC, which is our regional association right here, that means a lot to me. And I'm sure to students everywhere that you are willing to listen to us and take what we have to say into consideration. So,
You know, if people were to go back and look at some of the stuff on social media about what I did in Kansas City, one of the things that you will learn from students in particular, most people said, he is a superintendent for students. I believe in not just focusing on the academic aspect of your development. I want to get out and I want to support you with some of your extracurriculars. I may pop up and you won't see me in a suit. You might see me in some jeans and a nice pair of tennis shoes and a cap. But my goal is to get out and to be in the trenches with you all and to just show you all how much I support that extracurricular aspect of your development, whether it's going to a play, a musical, or going to some type of athletic event. Those things are important, and I think students need to know that their superintendent supports them above just seeing him on TV or hearing about him on the news or a radio show.
Yeah, that's amazing. So kind of along the lines of that, do you have one goal in particular that you really plan on accomplishing on your next 4 years here?
Yeah, the ultimate goal now is to take a strong look at where we reside within all of the 24 school districts here in Maryland. And my goal is I want to be number one. I think we have the staff, we have the personnel to make that happen. We have a community that I believe is ready to get on board and to continue to support the county. But being number one truly means that we're utilizing our resources in a very efficient way. We are thinking outside the box. We are no longer operating in this very rigid way of how we conduct schooling because in a way it's kind of obsolete. And in this era, we have to innovate and we have to be willing to try things and to also understand that failure it's a part of life. It's okay. You have to embrace it, but not doing anything to me would be a failure on my part as a leader in trying to help us get to that top spot in how we perform across the board on every metric that's evaluated.
Wow. How would you describe yourself as a leader?
I am a roll your sleeve up type individual. I wouldn't ask people to do what I'm not willing to do. And, I know the laws are different here and we're trying to work around some things, but in Kansas City last year as a superintendent, I drove a kid to school, right? This school bus situation, we dealt with it last year and we did not have enough bus drivers. So I rolled up my sleeves and said, I will pick up several kids and I will take them to their school. And I did it for a 3-week period until we were able to put a bus on the road for that route. Additionally, I didn't have a problem going into a school and subbing as a principal for the day.
Wow.
It was kind of awesome getting in and spending my whole day there. And anybody who wanted to meet with me, if you wanted to meet with me and get on my schedule, well, you had to come over to that school where I was subbing as a principal. So I really do believe in being in the trenches. I truly try to share with people that I don't know it all, and I'm not going to act like I know it all. I don't have all of the answers, and I'm willing to listen to people. I'm willing to collaborate, and I'm willing to do things that I think would truly allow for students to prosper. That's who I am. That is the type of leader that I am.
That's amazing. And as a student who is in the trenches with teachers and other students, really appreciate that. I appreciate you're willing to get a little dirty with us here, like get out there and do these things. That's amazing.
It's interesting, Camryn, because I told my board of directors, and I have 8 bosses, and they all would tell you, I'm not interested in sitting here in central office and meeting all the time. I know we have to meet, but my attitude is if people really want to spend time with me, I'll be out in schools throughout this county. I'm willing to meet people at schools, but I really am trying my best not to be here in central office and to be more visible, because that way I have an opportunity to see for myself and to make those decisions over these first 100 days around what I think is the best path forward, and to make those recommendations to the community. But being able to get out and see the lived experience of what everybody is having what everybody is having to navigate through. That's who I am.
Are you still in the first 100 days?
I am.
You are? Do you know how
Yes.
far in?
Well, at this point, about a month and a half, because I started on August 8th.
Right.
So we're about a month and a half into the first 100 days, and I have learned a lot. My 100-day plan is on our district's website, so anybody can go and see what I've done so far, who I've met with, and it is updated. It's updated every week, so we post it every Friday for any and everybody to look at and see what we're doing.
So you're really big into transparency between yourself, the board, and the parents here.
Well, yeah, and you all will see that when we start to do our board presentations. We will be much more data oriented in what we present, and to be honest with you, that's not always going to look good. It's just not. But I think as a superintendent, if people don't know where our struggles are, then how will they be able to help us?
Right.
So I always talk about schools can't do it alone, and we just can't. Right. We have two options here. Right. We will do everything in our power to be the greatest educational institution we can be, or we're going to be the greatest social services institution. You can't be great at both. Right. And so that's where my call out to the community is, here's the reality of where we are. Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And with the bad and the ugly, here's how you all can help us turn that into good. So over time, right, we are a community that is really coming together and understanding that just because I may not live exactly in that zip code doesn't mean that it's not my problem.
Right.
At the end of the day, we're all Anne Arundel County. And we all need to be Anne Arundel County strong, working together for the betterment of this county as a whole.
That's amazing. That's really fantastic. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break to hear from some of our students, and we'll be right back with more from Dr. Bedell.
Hi, my name is Hala, and I'm from Crofton High School, and my favorite thing about back to school is seeing my friends.
My name is Camryn. I go to Crofton High, and my favorite part about back to school season is the football games. Go Cards!
Hi, my name is Eric, and I'm from Summit Park High School, and my favorite part about being back in school is seeing all of my friends.
Hi, AACPS Teen Talk. My name is Kelly Brown. I'm from Arundel High School, and my favorite class this year is definitely AP Spanish, just because language learning is really fun, and it's a fun way to be a part of the community.
My name is Sia, and I go to Chesapeake Science Point. My favorite class is math because I really enjoy how objective the class is and how easy it is to understand the content.
Hi, my name is Sam and I go to Crofton. My favorite class so far is FOCA because I sit next to Camryn Chehreh and we have a lot of fun.
Welcome back to Teen Talk. I'm here with Superintendent Dr. Bedell answering some questions about his role here in AACPS. So as we kind of talked about this earlier, as not only the superintendent, but also a parent here in AACPS, how do you think that perspective of being on the board as a superintendent and also a parent of a daughter named Camryn, right?
Yes.
That's awesome. How do you think that will impact your decision making?
Well, it allows for me to have both the administrative perspective along with the parental perspective. And I am not only an internal user, but I'm also an end user of everything that we do. So when I think about the learning management systems and how we conduct grading and what type of things go out to parents, I want to always operate with the perspective of, is this something that is easy for our parents to navigate through? Is it readable, right? Because in education, we tend to do a lot of things where we utilize a lot of acronyms. And so only us as professionals understand what those acronyms are. We have to simplify things to make sure that common language is understood by all. And so as a parent, I have to always think about that perspective when we are putting out memos and when we're looking at how we're going to do presentations, public presentations, and having that perspective. But also as a parent, wanting, where it really will set me apart is it allows for me to really understand the plight of what other parents are dealing with. That I'm not I'm not exempt from the struggles that other parents are dealing with. So I try to tell people I'm a regular human just like everybody else. I'm a parent that I've had 2 kids graduate already, and each of them are so different, and I have this last one coming through. And so being able to just always say to people, I'm not only speaking to you as a superintendent, but I'm speaking to you from the perspective of a parent that is also experiencing some of the things that you all are experiencing. That's important. And what it does is it allows for people to truly understand that I'm in the trenches, that what I want for my daughter, based on what I said to you early on, is what I want for everybody's child, right? I want growth in all of our kids on those 3 continuums, socially, emotionally, and academically. We should be producing kids that can thrive on those 3 continuums, which would make them truly globally competitive. And that's what I want for my child, and that's what I want for everybody else's children.
Yeah, there you go. And speaking of being in the trenches, we talked about this a little bit earlier. You've been going out to schools, visiting schools. You ate lunch with kids in the first week of school. That's so awesome. So what has been one of the biggest takeaways from kind of touring around Anne Arundel County? I know you said you're not done yet. You're still going.
I'm not done, but for somebody who's worked in a number of school districts, I would say to people that Anne Arundel County has it good. Anne Arundel County could be great. And we're not that far away from that, right? We don't have major holes that we have to address. Yes, we have to address staffing and looking at things differently, but every superintendent that I've spoken to, they have staffing issues right now. So it's not an insular experience for AACPS. The same thing with bus drivers, the same thing with cafeteria workers, custodians. We're all dealing with this shortage, and despite that, the way that people are working in this organization, the way that teachers are working out with each other, the way that paraprofessionals, the way that everybody's coming together to ensure that we don't drop balls to the best of our ability, it's been inspiring for me. Right? So we have little cuts. That's what I tell people. And cuts can easily heal by us making some changes. And so what I plan to do is to just make sure that I'm out doing as much listening and learning as I can. And when we make these recommendations around what we're going to do differently, that it really eliminates some of these cuts, some of which are self-inflicted, right? Some of them are beyond our control. But if we think differently with the things that are beyond our control, there's always solutions out there for those things.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned staff a little bit. I want to go a little personal for a second. Who is someone who, this could be a staff member, a parent, anyone in your life who inspired you to become who you are today as superintendent?
So this is a very interesting question for me. As a student in the 2nd grade, and I have to give you this context because it's important. I was told by a teacher I was dumb, ugly, and would never amount to anything, and I quit school in the 2nd grade. And the teacher knew that she could do it and get away with it because nobody was coming to the school to advocate for me. Then in the 10th grade, and this is important for students, as your superintendent, I wasn't perfect, and there's a ton of highly successful people in this world that weren't perfect. So I don't want people to think, oh, he's the superintendent. He was this straight A guy and all of this. No, I wasn't. I made mistakes. I became ineligible to play basketball for about 6 games. That changed my life in the 10th grade. And my homeroom teacher, Mr. Barrett, pulled me up to his desk at progress report time and said to me, you know, you are academically talented, but you're throwing it away. And he said, I know there's other things going on in your life that you need to get off your chest. And he said, you don't have to come back and talk to me, but you need to go find somebody to talk to because because that is a barrier for you. He put his hands up, and you got to lower that and let somebody know what's going on so you can reach your full potential. 2 weeks later, I went back to Mr. Barrett. I told him everything I was going through. I told him about being homeless. I told him about the situation at home with my mom. I wasn't living with her. Like, I went through the struggles to get to where I am. Mr. Barrett made me believe that I can do more than I ever thought I could do. And it was at that moment when I ended up making the honor roll, and I didn't look back after that. And he told me, he and another teacher, Miss Blaylock, two history teachers, told me, you're going to be a teacher one day. And I said, nah, I'm going to the NBA. Because I really thought I was going to the NBA. That's what a lot of us think we're going to do when we play sports. But they had planted that seed in the 10th grade of what I was going to do. And then they took me under their wings, in particular, Mr. Barrett. And they kind of served as adult advocates for me right there on that campus. That's the power that teachers have. That's the power that they have. And I turned out okay in life.
I would say you turned out really okay. Yeah, that's amazing. I have to ask, do you have a favorite NBA team?
Oh, wow.
I know that's really hard. I'm sorry.
It's not hard. It's embarrassing.
Oh.
Because I'm from New York. I'm from upstate New
nice.
York. So I've been a lifelong New York Knicks fan. I just don't know what I just don't know what we're doing. That franchise, I'm so confused. Every year we have a draft, and let's not talk about that.
Okay.
Okay.
I will say I have an aunt who's obsessed with the Lakers. She loves the Lakers. Any thoughts on the Lakers?
I mean,
no.
I like the Lakers, but I like LeBron. I don't know, man. With the team they have together, I don't know if they win in another championship, but
it's really sad for the Lakers today.
They spent a lot of money. They like the Yankees. Yankees is my team, but some teams buy their ways. They buy their championships because they have the resources to do so. And I just don't know why we can't do that in New York. All right. Getting back on track here, as a public official, you deal with a lot of pushback. You deal with a lot of criticism. How do you deal with that, particularly on social media? I know in today's day and age, people will use social media as a platform to just yell at you, quite frankly. Yeah, it's a tough situation for a leader of a school district to go in and look at that stuff. And what I've learned about social media is everybody has the answer. Everybody has a solution, even if they have not had any type of formal training on whatever subject matter it may be, right? Everybody has the answer. And it can be very toxic. And I'm not interested in fueling myself with toxicity. I'm just not going to do it. I was at a conference recently in Alexandria, Virginia. And one of the speakers, there was a slide, and somebody said, maybe it was a panel with superintendents, but somebody basically said, if you don't seek out information from someone, then why would you listen to what they have to say if it's always negative? Right? So it's something like that. But I thought it was a really great piece of advice, because you can go on, it's just like reading a newspaper. You get through the end of an article that may be controversial, and then everybody's got comments down there. And I'm telling you, the stuff can be so toxic, so negative, so nasty, and that stuff will put you in a valley of despair. So for me, I just don't allow for that type of stuff to bother me. And I don't spend a lot of time reading what everybody's putting on Facebook and Twitter. I just don't. I don't care. I care, but I don't. And if it's something important, I have staff that will give me the information that I need to make sure that I react to it. But yeah, I'm not. I have Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook 6.5 years now. Ever since I became a superintendent. I'm just not going to put myself in a position to do that. And when I go out and I speak nationally from time to time, or when I'm mentoring aspiring superintendents, I tell them the same thing. You get to decide on what you want to fuel yourself with. And you get to decide on whether or not you want to live in that valley of despair based on some of the negativity that tends to constantly come through and towards you through social media. Right. Right, and that's a lot. And kind of wrapping it up here, as you just said, that you deal with a lot in your job and social media. You're in a high pressure position. What are some of your favorite ways to chill out when you're getting stressed out? I love to play basketball still. I tore my rotator cuff because I was playing basketball in Kansas City right before I left and didn't know that I had torn it and thought just was a shoulder injury. I love to bowl. I'm not good at it. I have a couple of bowling balls, and once I get back into the routine, maybe I can get back to bowling in the 170s or so. I love to fish. That's another thing that I do. And I love fantasy sports. Like I have a couple of fantasy leagues with people that I used to work with back in 2010 that we still have a fantasy football league. But I like doing that, and then most importantly, just I love to travel. Okay. I love to travel. I love to just get out and explore the world and try to do things differently. So those are some of the things that I do to relax, and I love to do that kind of stuff with my family.
That's so amazing. You have been a wonderful guest. I want to thank Dr. Bedell for spending some time with us in the studio today. I am so excited to see what you do this school year, and best of luck to you. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at AACPS Teen Talk for updates on upcoming shows and opportunities to be featured in the next episode. See you next time on Teen Talk.